What's up, you fabulous savages? It's your friendly neighborhood Uncle Beast from the Brooks Creators team. And guys, my birthday is coming up. The current date of this video is going to be June 29th. My birthday is August 9th. And I reached out to the guys and I was like, yeah, my birthday's coming up, blah, blah, blah. And I'm planning on building myself an awesome fight stick. And they cut me off and said, hey, we want to take care of you for your birthday. So Brook went ahead and sent me their Gen 5 board, which has compatibility with PS5, PS4, Switch and Switch 2, and PC via X input. They also sent over their fighting board cable, but more importantly, this is not sponsored by any means. My Golden Lever Pro and VM6R, along with C-Tong buttons for the action buttons, has arrived. Now, guys, you know I'm very big on utilizing different levers. I prefer using Sanwa for the fighting games. I prefer to use Saimitsu for shmups, albeit horizontal and vertical, as well as puzzle games such as Tetris the Grandmaster, Cleopatra's Fortune, and whatnot. But the utilization of the golden lever as a whole, especially in competitive play, I've seen insane results, especially for 3D fighting games. So I went ahead and I purchased myself a Golden Lever Pro along with a VM6R with some laser engraving. But that's not the topic of discussion. We're going to get into a total fight stick build right here on the channel. Stick around, and if it's your first time watching, be sure to leave a like, a comment, and just hit subscribe and hit that bell, because I review a lot of really awesome gaming gear. So let's get over to the next scene and let's get this build rocking out. Alright guys, so now we're currently at the desk. Apologies for the lack of an overhead camera, but you gotta work with what you got. So, first thing we're gonna do is pop open the back of this VM6R, and we're gonna get right to work. Now first, courtesy of the orientation of this fight stick case and how the board is laid out, what I'm going to end up doing is, with the Gen 5 PCB, I'm going to have the USB cable that connects to it aimed this way, and I'll be able to wire up the lever and buttons regular way. So once again, the USB printer port is going to be facing this way, so it'll be easier for this cable here to connect right to it. Also, along with the VM6R, it comes with an OLED pinout. So usually, if I'm not mistaken, the pinout is one of these three terminals. Educated guess. Or I could just look in the manual, because the manual, which is included in the box, will tell you exactly which point of the board is going to connect to where. Okay, got it. So, with the PCB facing you, this section right here is going to be for the OLED display. This section right here is going to be for your L3, R3, and touchpad. That is connected. And we're going to go ahead and get these cables unboxed and get everything fitted right in. So these are the L3, R3, and touchpad. That's going to go directly next to the OLED. So that's two things less to worry about, because the orientation for the VM6R is very interesting. but at the same time works really well. So first things first, I'm going to take a Phillips head screwdriver and I'm going to remove the screws that are holding the posts down on the VM6R case. And thankfully I have a Fightstick driver, so this is going to be relatively quick. Excellent. All 4 screws are out. So now let's begin by installing the PCB onto the posts. And thank goodness that I'm using a Golden Lever Pro, because the steel, the CNC, the machining used for the Golden Lever Pro is absolutely phenomenal. And on top of that, there's actually no, because of the fact that there's no circuitry on the base of the Golden Lever Pro, that the wires can just pass right under, right above, you know, making the install process much more easier, much more tolerable, especially for those that are enthusiasts of manually doing their own wiring. But more so for me, since I'm using a 20-pin quick connect kit, so that job is a little bit more tedious to deal with. So we're gonna go ahead, screw. And if you have a magnetic screwdriver, this is gonna be light years easier for you. So always keep this in mind, keep your tools ready at the waistline. Screw number 3 is here. Note to self: invest in a magnetic electric screwdriver. Screw number 3 is in. Screw number 4 going in. We no longer need the screwdriver. The first part is done. Now let's get to running the L3R3 and touchpad first. Why do we want to run L3R3 and touchpad first? Because those are the more external, those are the more, what do you call this? L3R3 and touchpad usually should be wired in first, mainly because the VM6R specifically, the S30 layout that I'm actually using, actually has the button, the L3R3 and touchpad buttons set in a manner where they are, what's the phrase I'm looking for? They're still functional on the enclosure. Long story short, they're still functional on the enclosure. It's just a little bit more, it's more intuitive when they're on the face of the fight stick. Let's just keep it like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and look at the diagram that that the folks over at ASindo recommend. And that's going to be, the touchpad is going to be the topmost button. And on the wiring harness, touchpad is set to green. Excellent. And then L3 and R3 are going to be pink and blue. So L3 for pink. There we go. Now, this is where things get a little bit tricky. The reason why I say a little bit tricky is because the ground cable for specifically for this, and of course you're gonna have to do quite a bit of wire routing. I'm gonna do everything I can to get it as close to the top of the board as possible, and then zip tie everything down. So that's the thing. So what we have here is, it's gonna be a bit of a crisis for the ground cables. So what I am gonna do is I'm just gonna use ground on the bottom two buttons, and then the final ground button I'm actually going to use for light kick on the fight stick itself. Nice. Very good. And I think now would be a really good time to do the first little batch of cable management, which isn't much. Good. Now the only thing left to set up is going to be the action buttons and then the auxiliary buttons for start, select, and guide. Thankfully, I've built a lot of these out, so I'm very familiar with the layout of how all of these get thrown in. Now, a rule of thumb with the Brook 20-pin Quick Kick Connect, the right of the PCB is where you're going to have your lever. So that gets installed. And thankfully, the golden lever itself utilizes a JST connector as opposed to the previous, what do you call it? As opposed to the previously used multi-pin harnesses that you would use for every individual button. Okay, so back to the manual. If I remember correctly, I'm gonna go ahead and reference one of my Fightstick builds, because I knock a ton of these out. That's definitely not it. Alrighty, so if the first wire is blue, that's going to be your jab or your light punch. Your red is going to be your medium punch. Gray is going to be heavy punch. And finally, purple is going to be your punch number 4. So now that we have those installed, now let's go over to the next row. And the next row is really simple. So from orange will be your light kick. Yellow will be medium kick. Olive green will be your heavy kick. Yellow is medium, green is heavy. And then finally, the black one is going to be your kick number 4, or whatever other options you usually use for your respective fight stick. Now, for the sides, this is where things get a little bit tricky because different companies wire up their start, select, and everything else. But once again, got to go through the manual and then figure it out. So we'll be right back in a second. Okay, so because they're using a new color diagram, the white on the 20 pin connector is the start. Pink is going to be your share and select, and then gray is going to be your home. So now with that out of the way, it's time to add the ground wire. Now let me show you guys something. This is almost done. What I'm going to do is from the touchpad button up here, I'm going to route the ground from here and then across the punches and then across all of the kicks up until medium kicks, since I used the ground cable from the L3R3 touchpad connector to make my life a little bit easier in getting light kick, L3 and R3 connected. So let's do that. Arguably, I would say that this is the most difficult part, but I've built out way worse. Good. And I'm not gonna lie, guys, I am looking forward to trying out this layout from the VM6R S30 edition. Once again, it's a lot of Korean players, and big shout outs to Alex Smith, who is also, I believe he does work with AM6R. He does customer support for them. But more importantly, he had a banger run at DIY. And he's using, his case is the original VM. And that thing is massive. And now, tedious part is navigating my cables through the mess. And hoping nothing breaks. All right, guys, we're almost done here. We're just gonna hit these last 3. And like Hakan from Street Fighter 4 says, I'm ready for action. I'm gonna go ahead and close this up and bring you guys over with me to the PC so we can make sure all the buttons are functioning and we can get the firmware updated. I'll see you in the next scene. All right, so now we're currently at the Brook accessory website, and of course the most knowledgeable thing to do is to upgrade by holding the share and the home button. So we're gonna do that first. I'm not too sure if the Brook Gen-5 has a firmware update just yet, but it doesn't hurt to check. Share and home are being held. Hit connect. WPM USB is right there. All right, the current, wow. I like that. I like that very much. We're up moving from 1.0.2.0 to 1.3.1.0. Here we go. And of course, make sure you let the website work. Firmware is successfully updated. Let's get over to the games now. So of course I gotta open up with some good old Third Strike. This lever feels new. Like, I'm not used to this kind of tension, but considering that I did buy the bean top, this is very doable. Anyways, okay, let's try again, because also the S30 uses a slanted layout, which I'm not quite used to, and I do have the touchpad L3 and R3 at my fingertips as well, so we can still do that. We can still do demons. Let's see. We'll take it. Nicely done. Let's go over to another one. So now that we got everything wired up and bunkered in, let's see. Oh yeah, that's money, dude. I'm really liking the level. Hell yeah. And now for some Tekken. Mobility feels so good. What the heck? I'll take it. This feels really good. Let's get over to the last frame and let's close this video out proper. All right, guys, and that's going to be the end of the video. It's really weird treating myself to a birthday gift this early. The year's been pretty chaotic, but still blessed to be able to provide, you know, some good old product reviews and install tutorials for y'all, courtesy of the Brook Creator Club. Once again, Brook was the one that reached out when they said, hey, we want to give you an early birthday present, and they sent me over their Gen 5 PCB along with the wiring harnesses, and it was just such good timing because I ended up purchasing the Golden Lever Pro along with the VM6R back in May, so now I get to put this Fightstick build to absolute work. Nonetheless, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Make sure you like, comment, follow, and if you guys have any questions about the build, where you can buy any of these products that I used in this video, be sure to Leave your requests in the comments. I'll be sure to get back to you in a prompt manner. And of course, I'm going to leave links for you so you guys can make the right purchases. Nonetheless, y'all, take care now. Bye-bye then. See you in the next one. And always remember, Brook Gaming always has you covered. Take care now. Bye-bye then.